Alright folks, welcome to CIS 137. Today I'm going to be walking you through lab 9, okay, configuring SSH with nowadays we know that security is really important, right? So we need to know how to generate key so people can log in remotely and securely, right? So we'll have to generate, first of all, we'll be working on one server, generate some keys, right? And then copy those keys into another server, and then make sure people only who have permission can log into server B. Alright, so let's get started. So you log in as a student, you start your lab, right? So the lab name is lab SSH review start, right? And then let's wait for it to load, right? And then once the lab has been successfully loaded, you are so we want to SSH into server A. So SSH student hardware server A. Alright, so we log into server A. We want to be production. We want to log into server A as a production one, but as a root, right? So sudo production one. Production one, red hat being password. So we are in there, right? So now we need to generate some keys. So SSH keygen. Alright, so you'll be asked some questions, right? SSH, oh, sorry about that. SSH dash keygen. Alright. Yep. So enter. So just press enter for all of them. And then the key will be generated. That's the key. Okay. So that's what we need to do in server A. We did that, right? Now, we want to use SSH copy ID right here to copy, okay, the key that we just generated into server B. So SSH copy ID, copy ID, right? Production 1 at server B. Okay, so the key, remember, the key is made for production 1, right? SSH copy ID production 1 server B. So yes, we want to do that. There's the password, red hat. Okay. So we are in there, right? We're in there. Now the next one we want to do is we want to confirm that this is done properly, right? So let's go SSH production 1 server B, right? There we go. Now copy socket, okay, we did that. Now 6, we want to configure SSHD on server B to prevent users from logging as a root, right? So let's go to sudo. Alright, red hat. Okay, so we are in server B. Now we want to write it into the file. So, okay, the SSHD config file. Okay, when we open that file, you will see the set of permissions that were allowed, right? So we want to modify those permissions. Okay, let's do that. So the key point to open the file and then write into that file is what? Vim. We're already in there as a sudo, right? So vim, right? etc ssh sshd config sshd config, right? So you see a bunch of stuff in this file, right? What do we want to do in that? We want to change the permission root login from yes to no. So I click on I so I can write in there, right? So go to permission login right there. As you can see, is yes. I'm changing that to no. Okay, permission root login to no. And then I'm exiting there, and then column WQ to get out of the file and save it. And then anytime you make a change, you need to reload the thing with the system. Let's do that. Systemctl reload SSH d.service. So load those services. Okay, so took it. Now how do we know what we did was correct? Okay, so you generate some keys, you copy those keys from one server to another one, assign these to one person or one employee, right? So what we want to do, we want to be opening a second screen, and that screen will serve as a computer. Okay, let's do that. So I go to File, New tab, and then in that new tab, I want to SSH as a student first. So SSH student at workstation. Okay, and then once in there, we want that student to be a sudo into server A. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so open our terminal. That's what we did. So SSH production1 at server A. Good. Since we said enable now, copying, we are in there. Now let's try to log in as a root. Log into server B as a root. SSH root at server B. Password red hat. It's doing its thing and looking at the access, going through the file, and then it said try it again, right? Access denied, try it again. So red hat, because we say no. Okay, and then red hat. When you do it 3 times, it's gonna kick you out. All right. So kick you out, that means you can't do it, right? We're good? All right. Now let's go to 7. We're going back, configure SSH on server B to allow, okay, we'll return to the first terminal. And then let me see the time, yeah. On the first terminal, okay, we open that file one more time, so vim, okay. Now what do we want to do? We want to change the password authentication to no. So okay, password authentication, let me take a look at it. Password authentication, let's go back down and take a look at password authentication. There we go. It is yes. We change it to no at this time. Erase it. Column WQ, get out of there. So we don't require users to use password anymore, right? And then when you do that, you have to do a reload the system, right? So we'll reload it. Now we go back to the second string and see if that works. So I'm going to go to SSH production, right? SSH production. I will try to log in with those keys as a production 2 into server B. Server B. Okay. SSH production 2. Permission denied, because the keys was not meant for production 2, but it's meant for what? Production 1. All right. 7.2 is done. Now, let's go back to the file again over here. So issue the vim command one more time. As you can see, anything that is green in comment is just the default setting, right? So let's see the default setting for public key authentication. Okay. So public key authentication, let's take a look at that. Public key, you just have to look for it. Oh yeah, it's in green, don't forget. Public key authentication, let's take a look at that. Key, password authentication. Yep, you see that? Public key authentication is yes, right? It's in yes over there, right? In the comment, okay? So the public key has been authenticated properly. So that's just a verification. Now let's go back to the second terminal. Let me close these, okay? Let me close these and go to the second terminal, okay? And now let's try to log in SSH production 1 now. Production 1 at server B. Alright? Works, right? Because it's meant for production 1. Now we can exit as production 1 from server B. Exit again until we come back to our workstation and exit that one again. And I can close that terminal if I want to, but let's just leave it there and come back to the terminal number 1. At this point, I'm on 7.8, so we are 7.7, okay? We're going to exit from the root, so exit, and then exit from production, and then exit. We want to go back to student, all right? Student at server A, exit that, and go back to the workstation, and then go to the lab, all right? So lab SSH review grade lab. Don't forget the B. SSH review grade. Alright, pass. So we're done with this lab. That's all you need to do with this lab. So as usual, what do? We go to snipping tool, right? So we grab a new snipping tool. Let's grab a new snipping tool, and then remember, I want to see your credential, right? So you grab the whole thing, showing me that you pass it, and then file, save as, okay? I like to save them, okay, I have lab 11, lab 12, let me just call it lab 9, right? Lab 9. Okay, same, lab 9, good. And then you have to load it into the assignment. And then don't forget, make sure you get out of the server, right? So lab finish, and then so you can decongest the server, right? So restore the original, okay, is a pretty good practice to do that, and then before even you take the screenshot. All right, guys, have a good night. Bye-bye now. If you have any question, shoot me an email or come to my student hours at Pima Community College East Campus, Building 01, Room 143. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 a.m. to what? 1 p.m. Bye-bye now.